Zenless Zone Zero is finally here! We're doing character drinks. Billy Kid, Ellen Joe. We can do the next best thing, drinking! It's bourbon time, baby. A smoked Manhattan? I mean, come on, that is beautiful, right? It just wasn't biting me. That's a shark pun for you. That was it. That's cool, I guess. So if you disagree, you can blame my chat.
Woo! That's a lot of salt.
I will do the full Von Lycan cosplay. Zenless Zone Zero is finally here! And by that I mean, it's here on the day that you're watching this video. I obviously didn't record this on the 4th, so I still want to punch a hole through the wall because I can't play the game yet. But it's okay, because we can do the next best thing, drinking! I don't know how that checks out, but let's all just pretend that it does. Also, yes, I am doing the pen bigger because quite frankly, I'm recording both of these segments after shifts at work, so I don't want to get into the full Von Lycan outfit. Please understand. I'm just gonna be tired, okay? But hey, at least it's a good excuse to drink. Please drink responsibly, by the way. Always have water on hand. But otherwise, you probably want to know exactly what we're doing, right? Well, we're doing character drinks. Now that's obviously a little hard because the game isn't out, I didn't get into the beta, so I don't know fully what these characters are like yet. But I worked with my chat during a stream last night to make sure that we came up with 2 drinks that we all think match these characters pretty well. At least aesthetically. So if you disagree, you can blame my chat. Now I won't go on the long tirade about how excited I am for ZZZ, because I already did that in this video, which also has 2 of the most interesting drinks I've ever made, and they're based more on the world of ZZZ, drinks you could get anywhere in New Eridu. So if you just want to put yourself in that New Eridu state of mind, that's the video for you. Now then, let's start with one of the game's faces and member of the Cunning Hares, Billy Kid. Now in the last video, I already discussed how much I think Zenless Zone Zero has to be inspired by America, primarily because of how much of its aesthetic is based on hip-hop and graffiti and breakdancing and all of the things that came out of it, which is distinctly an American creation. But I think the second easiest place to see it is in Billy Kid. I mean, come on. He's named after infamous outlaw Billy the Kid. He's carrying 6 shooters. He's got the sheriff's badge. And everything about his wacky antics screams Western cartoons. And then the second part about his character, probably the most distinct element, is that bright red jacket. So with that, and the guns, and the cowboy aesthetic, you really could have easily reused the boot hill for this. But obviously, I'm not gonna do that. So we had to get to thinking. We need something American, red, and full of flavor. And so I ended up thinking of a Manhattan. A Manhattan is typically made with rye whiskey, sweet vermouth, and bitters, and creates a cherry-like flavor, hence the red. But if we really want to be American here, and let's be honest, if you watch these videos, you know where I'm about to go. That's right, it's bourbon time, baby. Why bourbon instead of rye whiskey? Well, quite simply, I didn't just want to make a plain Manhattan with one change that you'll see later, and then call it a day. I felt like that was kind of lame. So due to a future change, I needed something to maintain that cherry. And Maker's Mark famously has a very strong cherry flavor. So this is keeping the cherry that we're missing with the sweet vermouth. Plus it has the red cap. And also, weirdly, the only normal sized bottles the store had were themed for the Cincinnati Reds. So I guess I now own a limited edition Maker's Mark bottle. It's not like it was more expensive. That's cool, I guess. But we'll get into more changes as we make the drink. First of all, a Manhattan is served up, which quite simply means the drink is chilled via stirring or shaking on ice, but is served without it. Another easy up drink to think of outside of a Manhattan is a martini. You shake it or you stir it on ice, but you're typically not drinking a martini on the rocks. Now, as I alluded to earlier, by only listing 3 ingredients, the Manhattan's a pretty easy recipe to remember, especially considering you can easily remember 2-1-2, which means we're starting with 2 ounces of Maker's Mark bourbon. Now here's our big change. Rye whiskey to bourbon, not too exciting. But this next part is really going to kick up the fun, and I think perfectly remind you of Billy Kid's wild style. One night while sitting at a bar with my sister, she convinced me to try something interesting. She told me to get a Manhattan with Grand Marnier instead of sweet vermouth. and it was really good. Now, partially because I didn't want to spend $40 on Grand Marnier, and partially because I think this similar but lighter flavored liqueur will work better for what we're going for, we're going to replace our sweet vermouth with Cointreau. And sticking to our 212, 1 ounce of Cointreau. Lastly, Angostura bitters. I'll admit this is kind of the last surviving part of a typical Manhattan recipe, and I mean, I'm not going to complain. You all know how I feel about Angostura. So finally we add 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. And then a Manhattan is stirred. And as I said earlier, is served up, which means we're going to have to strain out that ice. And now the typical Manhattan garnish of a cherry. But to remind us of our fun change, we're going to add an orange peel. Now this ain't done, but let me give it a quick taste in case you don't have the tools to finish off this drink properly. Whoa, that is a very cherry fruit cocktail right there. The orange and the cherry are having a great time together. And I mean, I am thinking of specifically those Dole cans of very cherry fruit cocktail. That's what this reminds me of. The orange is giving the sweetness of all those other fruits, while the strong cherry from the Maker's Mark is keeping that famous Manhattan flavor. It's vaguely Tootsie Roll-esque, sweeter. There's no chocolate. An orange and cherry Tootsie Pop before you get to the chocolate part. That's what it's reminding me of. There's a nice, sweeter flavored cocktail. I think it is pretty accessible. I think you could get a lot of people who don't even like bourbon to enjoy this, because it's not as dark and rich as a Manhattan. That Cointreau and the Maker's Mark are making it bright and light and fun. But we still have one last thing to do, because I said I didn't want to remake the Boot Hill, and we didn't. There is one part I'd be remiss not to do with Billy Kid's rootin' tootin' gun shooting style. You know we gotta smoke it. Now some of you who know your cocktails are probably thinking, a smoked Manhattan? It's not like it's an unappealing thought, it's just a very atypical one. That's not something you really hear about. But let me tell you, you should be. And I think this drink will convince you why. Now, I started by explaining that the red aspect of Billy Kid was being represented by the cherry aspect of the Manhattan. And you probably think that we lost a lot of that with the sweet vermouth, which is also red. And I would agree. But the only reason I was really willing to give that up was because of this step. This was the main first step applied to the Billy Kid, because we're gonna smoke it with cherry wood. And some of you might be thinking, does that really give it that much of a cherry flavor? And the answer is yes. Yes, it does. And so now we do the unthinkable and smoke our Manhattan. I mean, come on, that is beautiful, right? And that is our Billy Kid. And let me tell you, you have not lived until you've seen the smoke living on top of a martini glass. Oh, that unlocks such a beautiful, deep richness. That brings it closer to what you would expect from having Grand Marnier in here, or sweet vermouth. That smokiness unlocks the base note of the drink and makes it so much more like a typical Manhattan. There is now a distinct and obvious cherry note that is accompanied by the orange, as opposed to the two being equals. It is now a cherry drink that is being held up by the orange. It has all the benefits of a smoked old fashioned, but with that distinct fruity richness of a Manhattan. And I know that's really kind of only phrasing you would understand if you've had these drinks before. How to describe it? I mean, it's smoked cherry. It's a hint of orange. It's a beautifully sweet drink accompanied by a dark richness. Interestingly, I think it brings it closer to that Tootsie Pop feeling. It's still not chocolatey, but that chocolate richness is there. That sweet vermouth richness is what comes out when you smoke it with this cherry wood. If you're someone who's typically opposed to smoked or smoky drinks, I still think you should try this, because the main aspect is very much not the smoke. That's not really what you're getting out of it. It's that roundness that is coming out. It is that cherry that is coming out. I mean, that is a fun drink. That is a time and a half. It's fruity, it's fun, it's got that gun smoke feeling, but with none of the seriousness. Just like Billy Kid. I mean, yeah, you may be shooting off all those shots, but who's really counting? Hey, real quick, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you're enjoying it, because I enjoyed making it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and do all of the YouTube things. Share with all of your ZZZ friends. Try the drinks for yourself if you are of legal drinking age. And don't forget that you can become a member, where you will get early access, exclusive videos, and all of my stream VODs. And because I guess I'm a masochist, if this and the other ZZZ video get a combined total of 10,000 likes, I will do the full Von Lycan cosplay. Anyways, please forget that I said that and enjoy the rest of the video. And we're back! Please ignore the fact that it is an entirely different time of day outside. I already told you I was filming this over 2 days, and it actually ended up being a good thing that I did, because this next drink is for Ellen Jo, which at first I wasn't entirely convinced about doing. Obviously, I like her design. That's probably not that much of a surprise because, let's be honest, you see me walking down the street, your first thought is probably, yeah, that guy would probably like a punk shark girl. And I don't know why you're thinking that, but I mean, you're right, so. That being said, I just wasn't so sure about her being one of the first 2 character drinks I made for this game. Especially since the initial idea was just chat bringing her up and me saying, I know of a drink called the Blue Shark. It just wasn't biting me. You get it? That's a shark pun for you. But then yesterday, Zenless Zone Zero put out a whole bunch of stuff for Ellen Jo. And yeah, now I'm convinced. Since the last video had some pretty weird and complex ideas in it, I wanted to keep this one a lot more simple. That's why, much like doing a Manhattan for Billy Kid, this is a pretty simple recipe. As we already stated, this is a take on a drink called the Blue Shark. But since Ellen isn't actually blue, this is the Black Shark. A typical Blue Shark only consists of 3 ingredients. We're gonna do 1 ounce of tequila, we're gonna do 1 ounce of vodka, and make sure you've got your vodka chilled. She is a nice character after all. And of course, to make it the titular blue, ½ an ounce of blue curacao. But since she's a maid and we need the black element, we're gonna go for some more Mr. Black. Yeah, you could probably use any coffee liqueur, but this is the one I own, and the name works. So we're going to add ½ an ounce of our coffee liqueur. Now I built this in the glass, mostly because I just want to show you this beautiful emerald color. And when I followed the instructions on how to make a typical Blue Shark, I feel like it lost some of this appeal. So we're gonna try something a little different. But real quick, I do just want to try it neat, I guess. The coffee's very upfront. You get a little bit of orange in there. It's not a ton. It's mostly that coffee, a little bit of tequila stank. Nothing crazy going on, but yeah, mostly just that coffee. Now what I found said that you're supposed to shake a Blue Shark before serving it up, but I found that took away a bit too much of the richness. And drinks that are primarily just liquor and no real mixers, you're supposed to stir anyway. So we're gonna try it that way this time. Stirring that back into our rocks glass. Oh, it actually got to keep the color this time, that's nice. And does this need a garnish? Let's try simulating a little blood in the water and throw in a cherry. And there you have your Black Shark, your Ellen Jo. Chilling it calmed that coffee down a lot. It's taken on a lot more of its chocolatey flavor than its coffee flavor. That tequila stank is very subtly at the bottom of everything, just lurking beneath the surface, only its fin popping out. I'm gonna keep trying to make as many shark jokes as I can. The blue curacao shockingly has a back seat. Typically, it kind of storms in with some orange. It's so sweet. It might not be the primary flavor, but it's certainly obviously there. To the point where I would say this is almost Tootsie Roll-esque. I know I called the other one Tootsie Pop-esque without the chocolate. This is the chocolate. This has that slight bit of orange in it that you get from Tootsie Rolls. It's a bit more bitter from the coffee. It tastes like specifically you got one of like the big rectangle Tootsie Rolls where the flavor just kind of overwhelms your mouth with that coffee, chocolate, orangey flavor. That's what this is reminding me of. And despite its chill, it is warming me up inside, I will say that. It almost feels briny. I don't know how to describe it. It's not salty, but it has that aftertaste sensation of when you get a bit of ocean water in your mouth. Do you know what I mean? It's not unpleasant, it's just not something I was expecting. What's the cherry taste like? Something might have been wrong with that cherry. No, that one was fine. I did have another idea though.
You do tequila with salt, so why not tequila and vodka and blue curacao and go? That's a lot of salt.
Cheers. Oh, now it's briny. Now it's briny, for sure. I'm almost curious to do a salt rim. Hold on, we're gonna try it real quick. All right, I'm back. I have a salt rim and a lime wedge. Let's see what this tastes like. Surprisingly not terrible. Okay, maybe not great either. If you want it to be more accurate, this is a fun thing to do. Get a couple drops of lime juice in there. That was it. The bit of lime has mellowed everything out. All the flavors have become round now. It's not like it was harsh before, but it was still thin. It's like a coloring book thick instead of paper sharp or baseball round. Now it is baseball round. That's interesting. Obviously you can do it the way we did with the cherry, but I'm gonna call this an equally viable way to do this drink. That is totally different in the way that it feels, at least. It becomes like, kind of like a coffee margarita. Now that's an idea I might have to hold on to for another day. But in the meantime, thank you again so much for watching this video. I hope you're enjoying Zenless Zone Zero, because I know I will be, and you should go play Zenless Zone Zero, because I need them to keep making that game forever. I want to live in New Eridu. I don't care if there are black holes everywhere. I want to be there. I need more cyberpop, which is a reference to a tweet I made about the difference between cyberpunk, cyberfunk, and cyberhop. Maybe I'll talk about that for my members. Hey, speaking of, you can become a member because you will get exclusive videos, early videos, all of my stream VODs, and more. I try very hard to make it worth your while, so please consider doing so. And hey, if you can't, that's fine. Liking, commenting, and subscribing are all massive ways to help the channel, but especially sharing the video everywhere and with everyone that you can. Look at me. If you're watching this in another tab, click over. Look at me. Look at me in the eyes. I love Zenless Zone Zero, and the game hasn't even come out yet. So please, give me the excuse to keep talking about it. Tell me if you liked this video, if you got to try any of the drinks, who your favorite ZZZ character is right now. I want to keep making ZZZ videos, okay? If you would like me to talk about other games, Star Rail, Genshin, etc., please let me know down below. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on 6th Street. There's nothing in this class.